Hey, what's going on, guys? Today for our Mook review, we're going to be checking out another issue of Gundam Weapons. This is Gundam Weapons 6 Master Grade Model Special Edition. So, although it has Char's Zaku here on the front, it is not necessarily primarily a Zaku-themed book, but there is going to be quite a lot. It looks like about half the builds in here are Zaku or their kind of Zeon One Year War Mono-Eye Master Grade model kit designs, but there is a lot of other stuff in here. As mentioned, there's a few other different things, including some 8th MS team mobile suits, which we'll see in there towards the end as well, which I'm a big fan of. So let's go ahead and get into it here for today's Mook review. So alright, let's get right into it. Aside from this Master Grade Char Zaku 2, that's the 1.0, of course, by the way. This book was printed in 1996 originally, so yeah, the very beginning of the Master Grade line. And this was 1,500 yen, or is 1,500 yen for the MSRP for this. So yeah, so early on in the Master Grade line, you can't imagine that there would be too many Master Grades to choose from for what would be covered in here, but we have Char Zaku 2 here. Of course, this one's modeled by Max Watanabe. Some of you guys may recognize the name. And let's see, I'm sure that probably isn't going to be the only model that we see in here from Max-san, and it is going to be in Japanese style, so we're going from back to front. For us Westerners anyway. And interestingly, I'm just looking for the table of contents and wondering if there is no table of contents here. It kind of seems like it's just kind of just thrown immediately right into it. So after that kind of first page spread there of the Char Zaku 2, then we got the regular Zaku 2 original version here. And some different scenes from the anime here from the beginning of the series first fight. Here with a couple of Master Grade Zaku 2s. So kind of cool photography there of the models to recreate this scene here. We've got the Gundam included as well, with what looks like some of those added extra hook parts. If you guys remember from a couple of the early Master Grades, they had those extra parts, for extra little detail parts on the runner that you could opt to use or not use. This looks like some of those are used in there, and some of these might be additional parts as well. I think those are the ones that are included. They're kind of large though, but larger than I remember for what they should be for the original Gundam. Also, the 1.0 Zaku, did it come with springs for inside the hose parts? Because I can see a spring there, and I didn't think that the 1.0 did, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I could be. So the story of basically the very beginning of the series continues on here with photographs, and this not actually being a diorama where the model is actually mounted in that way and damaged or anything. We just kind of have some effects there of making it look like it's kind of exploded there in the background. And this continues on to a fold out page here where we have this really cool scene with the Zakus and a Ferris wheel there in the background. That's kind of cool here, and the Gundam as well. Everything's getting kind of caught up here. On the other side here, Scout, Zeon diorama with these few Zaku suits here. So these are different from the ones that we saw for the first few pages. That first section is kind of concluded here with the Gundam. This is on to the next set. So these are 3 Zaku 2s, actually 4 Zaku 2s, but they're painted and modeled in a little bit different way. So you have some custom weaponry here. It has the Zaku 2 FZ machine gun, and one of them has this big Gatling gun, and there's a downed one there, so it kind of makes it look like the 3 ones that are 3 Zakus that are still in operation are kind of protecting the one that's maybe been shot down or whatever. You can kind of see it there on the ground. We'll see it here in another shot. So you can see we have this very large base there to accommodate, and the teacup ride over here, the Ferris wheel in the background, and then the 2 standing Zakus, 1 kneeling Zaku and 1 Zaku laying down, a damaged one, which trying to see if there's going to be a good photo of that showing it, but really cool scene there, how you can really get a sense of kind of the story of what's going on there in the scene with the Zakus. It's really nice. And there's a better photo up there. You can see the one that's down and damaged, and just so it kind of looks like maybe, oh, he's even got, okay, I didn't even notice this before, but the kneeling Zaku right next to it actually has the pilot. He's holding the pilot in his hand. It almost kind of looks like the pilot's dead, but I'm gonna assume that if he's taking the pilot out of the Zaku, that the pilot's not dead. But this is also kind of interesting over here. It's just the handle of a Sturmfaust grenade. So the grenade has been shot off, and this is just the handle part left over. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like that. So that's really cool, kind of interesting, unique idea. And I love that they have a teacup ride here as well. So really cool, interesting diorama there. This next part looks like, okay, now we're on to a different scene, but again with a few different Zakus here. These ones have a little bit different color scheme on them in that, once again, we have the machine gun from the Zaku 2 FZ, But the camo style, and these also have some joint covers. I'm guessing that's just obviously molded just with some polyester putty, probably to make what looks like kind of cloth covers there for the knee joints. That's kind of cool. Set in this like jungle setting, so in order to like waterproof or weatherproof the knee joints there, basically, it's got coverings on it, which is a nice, unique addition to that. And aside from just like the camo sprayed on there, just like the camo is just done like with the airbrush, just kind of spraying the camo line patterns on there, which is kind of interesting. So here we have some very dense vegetation on there. Obviously, the more vegetation you add, the more realistic it's going to look. So it looks really nice there, and it's got some water effect over here to the side. So like they're coming out of like a river, making their way through the jungle, basically, right? And this one's set in the water over here. So yeah, really cool. Very nice diorama work there for that one as well. Okay, we got a bunch of line art over here of the Zaku. Some of it's quite small, unfortunately, and I don't think we're going to have, there's numbers by each of them just to put the information. It would be really cool if we had like, I'm sure a lot of these images, a lot of this line art is maybe in like the Master Archive book, possibly, for the Zaku 2, which I don't have, which I would like to have, but a lot of really nice line art there. This is going to be just like production images of the kits, so the Zaku 2 and Char's version over here, showing some painted versions of like the sample build. This is like what you would see on the photos on the box art, and then the just unpainted one, just snap built here, kind of roughly, very intentionally roughly scratch built, as in like the nubs are very obvious where you can see like the nub marks, but it's done on purpose just to kind of illustrate for builders to be aware of, like, to see, okay, once the model is built, here's where the nub marks are going to be. Kind of, if you see like Japanese modelers, I don't see photos like that from Bandai too much these days, but you'll see like on some blogs, especially like Japanese bloggers, when they review kits, they will intentionally leave the nub marks kind of pretty bad looking by kind of normal standards, but that's on purpose to just kind of help show where they are. But these are some painted sample images here showing some of the differences between the different versions, like the covers here for that extra little vernier there on the lower leg between the regular version, Char's version, kind of one that has the vernier, so single vernier on the leg. So one of the different options over here showing some of the different weapons that include it, and it looks like it does include a spring, so interesting. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if the 1.0 did. So it looks like it's got a plastic piece through the center, and then a spring that goes over the top of that, and then the pipe pieces go over the top of that. So as you guys know, my only experience with, well, some of you may know, my only experience with any 1.0 Master Grade Zaku is actually the one that I had, which is like kind of like already half broken, which I remodeled into the more broken. It was like my trash to trash custom build there to turn it into like a space wrecked Zaku 2. All right, Zaku 2 variations here. We're gonna see some more aside from the Char's custom. We'll also see this decorative one there. So this is the Mine Layer custom, obviously long before we had the actual Mine Layer Master Grade kit. So in this case, the backpack I'm going to assume is probably just all scratch built here for this one, which is pretty awesome. But thankfully, now we have an actual kit based off of the 2.0, which is awesome. So that's very nice. You don't have to worry about scratch building something like that, because it's really cool equipment to add onto the Zaku. I'm not sure if there's really too much else that's really different about the main body. It's got the verniers on the lower legs being like a space type, but I think that's basically it. It's mostly just the backpack. And I think even the weapons that it comes with for the Master Grade version, I mean, are the same. Char's Zaku 2 here, of course. Really cool photograph over here on this side. The Zaku's and that one holding its hand out there with Char. It looks like the cockpit hatch not opened, because on the 1.0, it doesn't have the opening cockpit hatch on the front like the 2.0 has, interestingly. So here we're gonna see some modification work done on this. Basically some modification to the head to more easily remove the seam line and just make some of these parts look nicer here for the head. When it's all said and done, masking some of these areas here to make it look like the glass in there for the side of the head. Modifications to the hip and skirt armor here. So yeah, some very interesting modifications there. And over here, more modifications to the skirt, the hand, to make a closed fist out of the weapon holding hand, kind of remodeling that. Very interesting. How to sand the polycaps, because yeah, it has I think exposed polycaps for in a part of the arm, if I remember correctly. So just basically how to sand that to make that easier to paint. Basically there, modifications around on the leg, more for around on the leg here. Took a lot more work with these older 1.0 Master Grades, especially like all the way back in 1996. Took a lot more work to get these Master Grades looking as nice as they do once they're all painted. compared to what we have now, for how nice our kits that we have nowadays. Kind of cool here for the pipe bit. In order to make it a different shape, he used a different, just a piece of wire inside of the spring to make the shape of it look a little bit nicer than kind of just what the plastic part does, just with the stock kit. But there's our finished result. Looks very nice. Now on to a different mobile suit, finally the Goof. So here we've got a Goof, which also has that same machine gun, the Zaku 2 FZ machine gun there. Interestingly, the Goof we did later on get a 2.0 version of as well. This one, interestingly, modeled by Naoki Sato, which is pretty cool. And looks like, got some more photos here of this. I don't think any work in progress, no, just some photos just showing the finished result. But man, it's cool to see like how funky the 1.0 Goof looks versus how much better the 2.0 looks. It was definitely a huge improvement in terms of just the overall design and the proportions and everything. A lot of times, like with the old Zaku, I don't really mind the 1.0 Zaku's design. Like, it's very different proportionally and everything. But I mean, when it comes to the Goof, in my opinion, the 2.0 is a huge, huge improvement. All right, the Zaku 1, which we're still waiting for a 2.0 of. Unfortunately, we still only just have this 1.0 in the Master Grade line, which is quite unfortunate. Yeah, it really would be nice to get a 2.0 of this guy at some point. But there's a few different photos of that. It's nicely painted and everything. But I mean, yeah, the design and proportions of it are just not the greatest. Kind of interesting design there for the panel line around the snoot, though, is kind of cute there on the face. I mean, like nicely modeled for a really nice clean build there of the Zaku 1. Over here we've got the ornamental version there of the Zaku 2, which I forget. It's not, I don't think it's Dozel's Zaku 2, although I don't remember. Sure, it probably says there in the Japanese text. Unfortunately, it doesn't say in the English. And I would have to check. Yeah, I'm not even sure if it says there in the Japanese. Just kind of briefly skim that to look for, see if it says the name. It says it's based off of the Char's Zaku 2, so it was used as the base kit, but I couldn't see if it was saying who it's meant to be for. But interested to see how the wiring was done on this, or like how this detail was added onto it, because it looks like it's all like done very differently. That's wild. Yeah, it looks like it's all done by hand. That's what I'm trying to see, because it looks like it's like drawn on with a pencil and then just added by hand with just like putty, just like putty rolled into like a really thin line and then just kind of placed on there like that. Well, that's pretty crazy. Nowadays we would just use like sticker, like nail art stickers and stuff for something like that. But if that's right, if that's all done by hand, like that's pretty intense. That's crazy. Really cool. I mean, like, this is not my particular taste in style for a Zaku 2 especially, but all right, we got the desert type Zaku, another really cool design, desert type Zaku 2 I should say. This one also has some joint covers there in the knees and in the elbows, which are a little bit harder to see in there, but primarily in the knees. And this one, so it doesn't look like it's made with putty, because it looks like it's actually like bendable as far as I can tell. Maybe it's not, but anyway, no, yeah, it's definitely not. So I wonder what that's made with. Just some sort of like silicone plastic or something. What I see a lot of people use as well for making stuff like that is just like a silicone glove, and they'll just cut a section of like one of the fingers and then just use that as a joint cover. That's what you can use for something like this. So you can do that, and that's also paintable. The paint's gonna like chip. It's not like ideal. The paint can chip, but you can paint on it, you can weather on it, so it can work. We got another Zaku cannon over here. Again, I believe this is out before we had any master grade kit of the Zaku cannon, so I would imagine this is maybe, if there's going to be any work in progress photos, no, unfortunately not. Maybe a kit bash with, also I don't think there's a 1/100 scale version in the old 1/100 scale line, so that must be a lot of just custom building on that. So anyway, there would have to be a lot of custom building done onto like the back of the leg, the head, because it has a different vent at the front, the shield over here on the side, and obviously all the backpack and weapons and everything else. So I'm not sure what that's, if that's a mix of something. I don't think there was any 1.0 Zaku cannon out at that time. The Zaku cannon didn't come out as a master grade kit until after it was based off the 2.0, as far as I know. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong on that, guys. What do you guys think that that's made out of? This one as well, the marine type. So this is obviously just got to be a lot of custom building on this one, based off of the Zaku 2 a Master Grade kit, but we now have an HG of this, but still no like proper Master Grade release of this, which would you guys like? I'm not that big of a fan of the Zaku 2 Marine type design. I guess it's the Zaku Mariner that we have in the HGUC line. But anyway, you guys a fan of this design? I'm not really that much, as much as I love Zaku 2s. It's not really my favorite version. But would you guys like to see a Master Grade of that? Once again, some cool camo painted on that just with airbrush to get that aqua camo on it. That's pretty cool. I like the backpack design. That's interesting. Then we get to the high mobility type, Johnny Ridden's Zaku 2 over here. This one as well, I think this was out as a kit at the time. There was a 1.0 version of the high mobility type. And you can see there's the Johnny Ridden's version and there's the Black Tri-Stars version as well, which I guess we'll probably see coming up next, yeah, after this. So after Johnny Ridden's Zaku 2, high mobility type, then we have the Black Tri-Stars version here with a little bit different legs. It doesn't have the extra covers there on the high mobility type legs on the side. But again, really cool photography here, set up like scenes from the anime with the Master Grade kits. Kind of interesting way that these are painted in a kind of more desaturated kind of tone. I'm not sure if that's just the way that it's painted. It looks like it is just the way that it's painted and not like weathering done on the top of the paint, but it's kind of done in a similar way like you would do for like pre-shading, but it's kind of the opposite, where instead of like being more shaded along the edges, it's like reversed, darker around the center of the parts and lighter around the edges. That makes sense, which is like normally an effect that you would do like with weathering, but it just looks like it's just spray painted, airbrushed in that way, which is very interesting kind of technique. Pretty cool. And a reconnaissance type, obviously something that we definitely don't have any model kit of in either HGUC or Master Grade. There is an old, I think there's an old 80s kit, but it definitely doesn't look quite like this either. I think so. I think there's a Zaku Flipper, which I think would be like the closest thing. Actually, no, I don't think that there's a reconnaissance type model kit at all. I think a Zaku Flipper would be like the closest thing to that, which is a little bit different, but that's kind of interesting. There's more photos here of that. A little too like overly detailed with the greeblies. I get that it kind of fits the style to have all these like cameras and sensors and everything like that. It's a bit too much for my taste, but it's very interesting. Well done, of course. The beam weapon test type version of the Zaku 2 over here. This is interesting. The weapon on this is going to be kind of primarily the thing that is very different and unique about it. But that weapon certainly looks really cool, unique. Here's a proper look at that down here at the bottom. So you can see it's like a two-handed weapon and looks a bit like the Magella cannon, I think it's called anyway. There's a different beam weapon that is used by the Zaku 2. That doesn't look like it. Really cool modification here to the backpack and this equipment here on the side of the shield. Again, I'm not really sure what that's supposed to be. It looks like it's almost meant to be just like kind of an added like cooling unit or a battery unit or something like that added onto the side of the shield there, considering this is a test type for beam weaponry. That's really, really interesting. That's cool. Probably my favorite build so far. Obviously, I just love the color scheme for one. Shading on and everything looks nice, but the weapon is just really cool, very unique. Then we have an interceptor type here with some very big unicorn full armor style, or like Zaku or like Thunderbolt, Psycho Zaku style, like massive thrusters, fuel tanks here out the back. Almost looks like it's like a space rocket ship kind of thing, which makes a lot of sense, which I really like that. The details here added around on the chest, I'm guessing that's supposed to look like just kind of added armor onto the chest and the shoulders. And I guess like it kind of makes sense if it's meant to be like a high-speed assault type where it's meant to just go fast and blast stuff. It kind of needs that higher defense there as well to be able to actually make it through everything, which makes sense, but some really interesting modifications here on this one as well. All right, and our first non-Zaku, as we're getting more into the second half of the book here, is the GM. This one also modeled by Max Watanabe. Here, again, I'm gonna guess this is just based off of the Master Grade 1.0 kit. I believe that was out at the time. Certainly looks that way. But here is some more photos of that. Again, really nice to see just some of these very interesting modifications and things done on these older kits. So, you know, obviously, like fashions in modeling have changed over the years, and so it's like going back over 20 years, 25 years, more than that, almost closer to 30 years. And so just in that time, obviously, just kind of design trends and the way that people paint, I mean, everybody paints a little bit differently, but a lot's changed. But it's interesting to go back and look at some of these older kits and kind of how professional modelers were doing them at the time. Here's another Zaku 2 here. Now this is getting into stuff that's meant to be like from the 8th MS team. So you got the Zaku here with the spikes on the flat shield, which I'm not sure if I've ever seen that in 8th MS team or anywhere else really. So that's an interesting addition. Doesn't seem like that's something from 8th MS team as far as I know. We have the high mobility test type from the very beginning of 8th MS team, which is awesome. We did get an HGUC kit of this, but still no master grade. Would be cool to have a proper master grade of that. This one is a conversion kit, but that looks pretty awesome. Love the color scheme and some nice weathering here on this one as well. And the ground Gundam. So yeah, as well, the ground Gundam was not out as a master grade yet at that time, I don't believe. So yes, it's a full scratch build, and you can tell, just, like if you're familiar with the master grade kit, this looks very different. The legs are so much like longer and thinner compared to how chunky the legs are on the master grade kit. It's still got like the chunky torso and shoulders, so it kind of looks really weird with how like chunky and fat the torso and the head is and everything, and it's got these like long thin legs on it. Kind of looks a bit weird. But then we've got the ground gym here as well. This one also I would guess would be a full scratch build there, because it also just looks so different. Super curvy legs there, really interesting. Kind of like doesn't look at all like what the master grade we ultimately got looks like. But there's that, and I think that's the end of all the features. So what we're into now at the end of the book, if you guys have seen in other issues of these kind of weapons books, at the end then we have like more additional text, and this is from the builders, I believe, where it's just talking more about the builds. And so we have some more photos. It's usually like additional photos from what was featured earlier. They're just all in black and white, but there's additional photos and additional text from the modelers about each of the kits that we had featured in here. We had quite a few, so there's going to be quite a lot in here. Just kind of flip through these. There's some really cool line art there of the Zaku 1. Let's see what else we got in here. There's that Zaku 2, the desert type. That's the cannon that I was talking about earlier. I can't remember the name. I think it's like the Magella beam cannon or something like that, because it's like the same cannon that's used by the Magella tank, I believe. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Help me with my Zaku lore there. But yeah, it's basically about it. There should be a little bit more line art here towards the back, possibly. We'll see what we can see here once we get through these. But yeah, it's just a recap of the builds with additional photos and information. I don't know why like this isn't just put in like earlier, why it's made as a separate section, but it's just a black and white section here at the end. Here's a kind of interesting part that was seen at the very beginning in that first scene, but just kind of an extra little thing here. So we've got the next master grade is Zeta. So this is before the release of the Zeta 1.0. So these are kind of like some production images here of the early development of the master grade Zeta, which is pretty cool. That's interesting. And some line art here for that. Some illustration work. That's really interesting. And that's it. So we got some credits here at the end. Another photo of the build from the cover. And that's it for this issue. So very interesting. A look back to 1996 master grade modeling. What did you guys think? What particular build did you guys like the most? I think for me, I definitely liked the beam weapon test type the most. This one was my favorite. Really super cool. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. And if you guys have any other requests for future Mook reviews, any kind of in particular ones that you guys would like to see, of course, let me know. But I try to do these once a week, so make sure that you're subscribed and stay tuned for more Mook reviews in the future. We'll be taking a look at a bunch of cool ones. I got a stack going over here of a bunch that I'm really looking forward to taking a look at, including some Star Wars in there as well, which should be really cool. Maybe we'll do that one next. But thank you guys so much for checking out the video here today. You can check out some more Gundam models, tools, paints, and supplies at USA Gundam Store. The link to USA Gundam Store will be down in the video description as always, guys. Thanks so much for all your support. Till next time, have a good day, guys. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.